Hello everyone, and welcome to the Season 8 recap as well as the offseason for the St. Thomas Dynasty. This is your boy John J Gaming on the mic, and today going over the offseason, checking out the stats, checking out what happened in the offseason. It's going to be a good one, so make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new. Let's go ahead and get into this action, man. Check out the passing leaders. Noah Brooks was our leading passer in the entire NCAA, nearly 4,200 yards passing, which is absolutely insane to me. This guy was disputed to be the starter. He could have been benched at any point if he didn't show out, and he certainly did, giving him a very good reason to start this guy again next season, even with Michael Granson Jr. Coming off his red shirt. What Noah Brooks also did was throw for 35 touchdowns, did have 13 picks, but he did clean that up towards the end of the season. Owen Benfield also, came in during some times. He was decent, 8 for 18 for 104 yards and threw for 2 touchdowns. The running game was anchored by Lucas Coley, who had a career year. Lucas Coley averaged 100 yards per game, 1,400 yards on the ground, 18 touchdowns, even added, 4 touchdowns through the air as well, off of 40 catches. Definitely a do-it-all back that deserves an NFL shot as well. Noah Brooks, able to get up in there. He had 6 touchdowns off of almost 500 yards running. Then Jamie Smith, man, 6 touchdowns, was a bruising guy. Came in for goal line situation at times. He had 100 yards on the ground. The receiving core, can't go talk about the receiving core without talking about Isaiah Thomas. This man sets the school record for most catches in a single season at 93 catches. An insane season for him. He had over 1,100 yards receiving, 8 receiving touchdowns. What a performance for Isaiah Thomas, man. He had a great season, and hopefully he gets his opportunity to go to the NFL as well. Alex Garcia was a red zone monster for us as well. He had 10 touchdowns. Got a bunch of guys with multiple touchdowns. Allen, he a very consistent guy, always good for around 25 to 35 catches, but he found the end zone more often. Damian Hudson III in his first season on the field, he had 6 touchdowns as well, off of 28 catches for 352 yards. Pablo Sanchez had multiple grabs as well, 26 catches for 350. And the scary part is most of these receivers are coming back. It's just going to be hard to replace Isaiah Thomas, but we have guys like Tyreek Miller, Damian Hudson III, Pablo Sanchez that can step in, be as good as Alex Garcia if they're willing to put in the work. The blocking man was also phenomenal this season, but it was surprising who led the team in pancakes. Isaiah Thomas had 13 total pancakes this entire season, man. It was insane. Not really known for his blocking, just a receiver per bled, but he did a really good job of protecting the quarterback and doing good with run support. Johnson Adime Anobi had 9 pancakes, 2 sacks. Travis Kendrick, he had 7 pancakes, not a single sack allowed this season after giving up 3 his freshman year. Mike Simmons had 6 pancakes in his freshman year. He looks like a very promising player for us. And then we had Jamie Smith and Yolan Smith, had 5 pancakes each, man. A very good bunch, if I say so myself. Now, defensively, we had a bunch of young guys on, defensive starters, and it kind of showed at certain points of the season was a little inconsistent, but overall, we looked very darn good this year, as Jim Smith led the team in tackles this season, had 79 total tackles, but not too far him was Corey Johnson. He had 66, decent senior year for the man. He was a career backup, but came in, did what he was supposed to do, was a solid guy for us. We also did a good job getting to this quarterback this season, even though we went up to another level when it came to, going from the MAC to the American Conference. Buster Porter led the team in sacks. He had 12 sacks this season. Antoine Black had 9. It's a little bit of a step back for him, but he still had a really good season, though. It just took him a little bit longer to get adjusted to American Conference play. Dale Garrison had 7 sacks. We're definitely going to miss his presence. He was a really cool guy that, really came out, the last, couple of seasons or season and a half. DJ Watson was solid. He plugged up that middle well and got 6 sacks. That's really good for a defensive tackle as well. The kicking game, kicking game was led once again by Pat Hampton, who was an All-American for us, 19 for 20, perfect on the extra points. I'm interested to see if he made it to the All-American team. We'll definitely have to check that out later on. Speaking of which, here are the All-Americans for this season. Just scrolling down. Nobody on offense, making that first team, but we do have Buster Porter. He was named to the first team All-American squad after a great season, winning multiple awards. He won the Bernikic, the Nagurski, and the Lombardi trophies all in 1 year. He's definitely going to need some more room in his apartment, to fit all those trophies in. DJ Watson was also named to the All-American team. Jim Smith was an All-American. Kevin Carter and Corey Johnson were named to the All-American team. Same with Jared Scott. Surprisingly, I was not seeing that coming, but good for him. Pat Hampton was named to the first team All-American squad as well. Over on the second team, we had Lucas Coley, who did, get to the second team All-American, and, was also 5th place in the Heisman Trophy race. So a very great season for Lucas Coley. May go down as one of the best players to ever play at St. Thomas, for sure. Hopefully we have Jesus Shuttleworth makes the second team All-American. That's a really good news for him. He had 40 tackles, 2 sacks, didn't get any interceptions, but we can definitely work on that, later on. Moving over to the All-American Conference, we have Manoa Brooks. He was a first team All-Conference. Isaiah Thomas, he was first team All-Conference. Dale Garrison was a first team All-Conference guy as well as our whole defensive line was named to the All-Conference team. Good for them. A lot of guys around here, man, for sure. Alex Garcia was named to the second All-Conference team. Same with Adrian Allen, also named to the second All-Conference. And then finally, Billing Ewing, was second team All-Conference. 74 overall junior. Definitely got to work on his coverage skills a little bit still. He got beat, a little too many times that I was comfortable with, but still a good season. Second team All-Conference, I'll definitely take it. Another thing that I noticed is that Jamaro Lewis, one of our custom recruits, also made the All-Conference team. He was second team All-Conference, so very good year for him as well. Good team for the year for the entire football team. What am I saying? Moving over to the bowl results, just trying to see what happened to the American Conference. SMU played Oregon and got smacked, losing 28-7. Cincinnati did take care of business against the Bobcats from the University of Ohio, winning the famous Idaho Potato Bowl 41-20. UCF was the American Conference runner-up and played Virginia Tech in the Belk Bowl, and UCF must have left their defense because they hang up 56, or they allowed 56, losing by multiple scores to an ACC squad. There's the Armed Forces Bowl, and you see what we did to Southern Miss, beating those guys 45-28, a very convincing win to end the season. Memphis wins the Fight Hunger Bowl against the University of Washington, winning by a final score of 49-46 in what was a very fantastic shootout. Tulane did get an appearance in a January Bowl, playing against Florida Atlantic in the BBVA Compass Bowl in Birmingham, Alabama. Tulane won that game 40-37. And then finally, the BZS National Championship game, Arkansas ends up defeating the University of Texas 39-34. Texas is almost back for the 7th time, but they are in fact not back, as Arkansas will go home and win the national championship, led by Kyle Alexander. So here we go. Starting off this offseason, we get some very surprising news. Tony Franklin did opt to sign an extension to remain at St. Thomas, which I thought was really surprising actually. He has an A- prestige. He could actually coach at a Power 5 level as a head coach if he wanted to, but does decide to remain loyal, and I really do appreciate that. However, Papa Gump does decide to leave for a new position. Our new defensive coordinator looks like it's Alisa Tawicki. I have no idea where he came from, so we're gonna find that out real quick. So Tawicki was a defensive coordinator that came from the University of Colorado. He had a top 25 defense, so he can definitely help us out for sure. So that's nice to see. As for where Papa Gump went, he actually decides to become the head coach for the UAB Blazers. So we're gonna definitely have to play these guys in our non-conference schedule if we can make that happen for sure. He replaces Chris Ash, who went to greener pastures, probably went to a higher level position. He was a former Power 5 coach, but, congratulations to Papa Gump. He will become the head coach for UAB, and we'll try to play them sometime in Season 9. So here we go, players that are deciding to leave, and it looks like the only person that's projected to go to the NFL draft is Lucas Coley, and even then, he's projected to go in the 5th round. This is a guy that was an All-American for us, and was even top 5 in the Heisman race. For him to be only a 5th round pick, that is an absolute crime. Not to mention Kevin Carter and Isaiah Thomas not getting any looks at the NFL level. I think both guys have done enough to prove that they can play at that higher level, but I'm not a NFL scat, so they might have seen something different. We also see Brian Waller wanting to go and, transfer to get more playing time. Wants to go to Western Michigan, but we'll see if we can convince him to stay, which he does decide to leave. So Brian Waller will no longer be with us. He will be transferring over to Western Michigan. So unfortunately, the projections were true. Lucas Coley was the only player from our squad to make it to the NFL. He was selected in the 5th round. I think Lucas Coley deserved to go a little bit higher than that. I thought he was a day 2 pick, but the NFL stats disagreed. But I know Lucas Coley, wherever he goes, is going to prove that 5th round ranking wrong and going to tear it up in the NFL. I'm very sure of it. On a more positive note, St. Thomas does become a 5-star prestige program. So what that means for us is we are going to remove all the recruiting restrictions that we had left. Any guy that we want to go after, we will be able to go after them now. And, we're going to be able to really see this team take off from here. I'm interested to see how fast we can win a national championship from here on out. As for our recruiting board, there are some guys that I really want to focus in on this offseason. Sean Ransom from West Bend, Wisconsin, I really want to bring him onto the squad. He can start for us right away, potentially replacing Dale Garrison if we need to. Jonathan Jackson is another guy that I'm really interested in. It seems like he could be a type of guy that could be an offensive weapon right away. Can play wide receiver or, even play running back or play quarterback. Marcus Lowry always could use some offensive line help. So, going to definitely put some points into him. And then if we have any additional points, see if we can get some fillers on the squad. Get guys like Ryan Franklin, Adam Kinnery, Kelly Sampson, Adam Robinson. If we even have any points, I guess I could put a couple into him as well. So after really careful consideration, this is how I'm going to go about recruiting. What's nice is that we have 15,000 points this offseason, so we can really go ham if we need to. But there's only 3 guys that I want: Sean Ransom, Marcus Lowry, and Jonathan Jackson. Sean Ransom, I'm going to go ahead and put 6,800 points into him. This is the biggest gem that I want on this roster, man, that we currently haven't signed. Jonathan Jackson, going to put 4,500 into him as well. Should be enough to secure, his commitment because we're the only scholarship offer. And then Marcus Lowry, going to put 3,700 into him. It wasn't as good as what he was projected to be, but still, can add some help to that offensive line, as we could always use help to beef up that offensive line for sure. So we'll go ahead, go into signing day, and see what happens, man. We'll see if we can get the guys that we want. So we do end up signing all 3 guys that we were targeting. Sean Ransom, Jonathan Jackson, and Marcus Lowry all commit to the squad. We do get a little bit of bonus of Adam Robertson also joining the team, and that'll be really nice considering we'll have at least that free safety position filled up. Don't have to worry about having a walk-on or moving somebody over from the strong safety, move them over to free safety. So we got at least 4 commits. And it seems, we actually steal a prospect as well, which is really cool. Ended up signing a top 25 class, ended up signing 7 total prospects. So I'm wondering who the other 3 ended up happening to be. So this is where we ended up in the recruiting rankings, and we, number 14 team in the nation, ended up with the number 14th ranked recruiting class, which is really nice to see. Unfortunately, it seems like we ended up signing quite a few 1-star guys and 2-star guys. So that's a little disappointing, but we have a really good class here overall. 8 4-star guys, 7 3-star guys, guys that can definitely help us out right away. You know, definitely have probably the best, you know, recruiting class in the American Conference. Even along Big Ten standards, you know, we have, you know, a pretty solid recruiting class to work with as well. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see, you know, dive into what our recruiting class looks like. So this is what our full recruiting class is going to look like, at least the guys that we put on scholarship. You know, this is not the guys that are going to walk on like the last second. So this is not the entire recruiting class, but look at these guys. You know, we got a bunch of 70 overall, high 60s kind of guys that can help us out right away, you know, either as starters or, you know, even playing the field as, you know, as a key backup next season, man. So I'll tell you what, guys, if you want a recruit in this recruiting class, you know, fill out the template down below. I'll have it in the description as well as in a pinned comment, and I will make that happen before the start of Season 9. With all that being said, we are now here at position changes. First, we're going to talk about these 4 athletes that are on the squad. We have Steve Miller, Matt Robinson, Jonathan Jackson, and Mike Mendoza. All need some moving to do, so let's go ahead and get into that. Steve Miller, you know, looks like he would be best at quarterback, but we already have quite a few quarterbacks we're set there. One place that we're not necessarily set at is halfback, so I'm going to go ahead and move him there. That way we have some competition between him and Aiden Beamish Jr., you know, and then Jameer Mitchell will also be in the mix as well. You know, hoping that Steve Miller wins that battle, because otherwise, you know, he would be faster than both those guys, you know, can step in and, you know, play right away. Jonathan Jackson, meanwhile, looks like he could be a pretty solid football player as well. You know, could play quarterback, halfback, or wide receiver. Considering I just moved somebody over to halfback, I think I'm going to go ahead and put him over to wide receiver, you know, because he can definitely make a difference right away. Along with JT Evans, you know, make an immediate contribution if he needs to. But, you know, if we also have to, we can also redshirt him. Matt Robinson actually looks like he would be better at wide receiver with absolute speed to burn. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to move Matt Robinson over to wide receiver. And then what I'm going to end up doing instead, Jonathan Jackson, I'm going to move him to halfback. That would probably be a better fit for him overall. So that's what we'll be looking like at halfback right there. Quarterback, you know, quarterback looks like a pretty solid position overall. I don't know what I'm going to do, man, to be honest with you. Might keep Steve Miller to quarterback. I'll probably keep him a halfback. It might be for the best. Finally, we have Mike Mendoza. I don't know where I'm going to put this guy, to be honest. Looks like he could be fit as a tight end. And that looks like that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead, put Mendoza at tight end. You know, see what happens. And, you know, and Mendoza, he'll be sitting at the third stringer for right now. But he looks like he is the fastest, you know, the most athletic of all the tight ends. So he definitely has the potential for sure. We'll have to see how his development goes. As for the rest of the squad, I am looking over to see, you know, what else we could do, you know, to make our football team better. You know, got quite a list of wide receivers. You know, that'll be definitely nice to work with. Still need to build that offensive line up just a smidge, as we actually do have, you know, quite a few at, you know, right guard. You know, might go ahead and move Marcus Lowry over to the left-hand side, just so that we can have a backup for Chauncey Ademe-Anomi. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and move you over to left guard right quick. So he'll now be backing up Chance Ademe-Anomi. Say that 3 times fast. It also looks like one of the walk-ons that decided to show up for the team is Perry Robinson. You looks like a pretty, you know, solid football player, man. 73 overall. He can step in as a, you know, solid backup right away, actually. You know, just really starting to see the depth be built on this squad, man. At strong safety, we also have, you know, several guys, you know, that can, you know, gonna move a good chunk of these guys actually over to either free safety or corner. You know, because we only have 2 free safeties over here. Daniel Nash, you know, he'll be locked in as a starter, no question. But I'm definitely going to move at least 2 strong safeties over, you know, just so that, you know, we don't need a 53 overall on this team at this point. But, you know, who would be a better fit? You know, looks like I might move Mike Thompson and Jeremy Bradley over. You know, they don't take as much of an overall hit. So, Mike Thompson, going to move you over to free safety, and then same thing goes for Jeremy Bradley. Then let's take a look at our quarterback position. We have 7 corners, but I don't think Maurice Collins is going to make that final cut. So I think Robert Ross. Oh, never mind. Robert Ross is only a 55 at corner. Never mind. We'll keep it as is for right now. One of my favorite parts of any football season is seeing guys develop into their highest capacity. You know, not a lot of stars on the squad like there was last season, but, you know, we do have several good players. You know, Pat Hampton, Noah Brooks, Zach Bones, Owen Benfield, Pablo Sanchez, Antoine Black, Michael Granson, and Mike Simon are all at the 80 overall threshold. This will be one of the most balanced squads that we had in a very long time. Quarterback, man, you know, Owen Benfield, I got to give it to him. He really improved. You know, he's up 7 overall. But what we are going to decide to do is move him behind Michael Granson Jr. You know, I love his speed, you know, and I definitely want that to be utilized as much as possible. So Michael Granson will be the backup for this season for Noah Brooks. Halfback Aiden Beamish Jr. He put in a lot of work. He's up 6 overall. You know, a lot of guys in the 5 and 6 overall over here. Wide receiver core, you know, put in some work for the most part. Tyreek Miller was only +3, so that's really disappointing. But a lot of +4, +5s, so I can't really be that disappointed in that. Tight end Sean Doyle and DeMarcus Hurd II both improved by +4. Sean Doyle looks like will be the new starter at tight end moving forward. Lee Hagen's up to a 72. Chance Adime Anobi is at 75. Quinn Holmes is up to a 74 overall with Yolan Smith behind him sitting at 72. Mike Simmons, you know, already talked about him. He's doing good. Travis Kendrick and Brett Carter sitting behind him do +4s as well. You know, decent development for both of those guys. And then Adam Jackson's up to a 72 with Chris Bean sitting at a 68. Over on defense, we have Antoine Black improving so much once again. He's at 80 overall. Christian Toff, though, you know, probably the best looking out of this defensive core. You know, he's at a +6. Chris Hill's at a 71. Buster Porter on the other side already is also up +5. You know, and he might have that underachiever bonus as well. He's going to be a +5. Brian Anderson's only a +3. That's disappointing. And Mike Parrish is a +5. At defensive tackle, we have 4 guys that are over 70 overall. Mitchell McLaughlin, though, will most likely win the starting job at defensive tackle thanks to the graduation of DJ Watson. James Sapp, Willie Robinson, and Ashley Brock, though, are all very close on his heels. Over on left outside linebacker, only 2 guys that are not freshmen. Jake Braun's up to a 72. Jim Smith will be up to a 75. And, you know, Lance Cooper and Jimmy Henry both putting in that work over 70 overall now themselves. Then on the right hand side, we have Zach Bones, an absolute bone snatcher at 82 overall now. Matt Wade is at 74, and Tremaine Henderson is a 70 overall guy. Over on the corner position, some good development. You know, got guys in the +5s. You know, love to see that. Free safety Daniel Nash is a 79 overall, and then Zaire Hills Jr. is a 67, with Jared Scott now sitting at 66 overall. Plus we have Pat Hampton at 85, so that's really nice to see as well from our very own kicker. One of the most difficult things to always do is cut players. We have 6 cuts on the squad this season, man. You know, I'm thinking we're gonna have to definitely cut Maurice Collins. They're just not to the standard of St. Thomas football. Same thing with Adam Robinson. He's gonna get the boot as well. And then from here, I don't know what's going to happen, man. We have 4 guys left. Can't cut this fullback because he meets our minimum. So this is where things get really difficult, man. We're going to go ahead, cut Jeremy Bradley, you know, and then from there, you know, it gets really interesting. Going to see if we can cut Darren Murphy, which we will do. Junior red shirt, and you're only a 65 overall. You simply got to go, man. I'm really sorry. Mike Mendoza. You know, you have promise, but, you know, just simply not good enough, or we're being honest with ourselves. So we're going to cut him as well. And then the final cut, which might be a little bit of a surprise, we're going to go ahead and cut Jared Scott, 66 overall, but he's a junior redshirt. Definitely want to save the freshman when I can, so he's going to be the final cut on this squad. So this is what our final roster is going to be looking like, man. We have a lot of talent, you know, all around this team. You know, if they're not like in the high 80s, they're most likely, you know, just freshmen that are really just learning, and, you know, guys that can contribute right away for sure. Offensive line continues to get a lot better. You know, got, you know, only juniors and sophomores on that offensive line, and then same thing with the D line as well. You know, a lot of guys that are juniors and sophomores as well. You know, got some really good talent, man. I'm really excited to see, you know, what we can do from here on out, man. This looks like a team that could potentially be a sleeper, you know, to at least at the bare minimum go to a BCS bowl game, if not the national championship game outright. That's what our ultimate goal is after all. One more thing that we will do this offseason is go ahead and make another move. We're going to move up to the Big Ten Conference finally, joining the Western Division. Who we decide to replace? Maryland. They finished 1-11 this season, so they'll now be sitting in the American Conference. You know, hopefully, because it's, you know, the football remnants of the Big East anyways. Maryland used to be in the Big East, if I'm not mistaken, so this will be a better fit for Maryland football anyways. So we are almost ready to start season 9, man. Just going to show you guys the schedule, who I'm going to redshirt, as well as a sneak peek at what my recruiting board is currently looking like. So starting off with the schedule, look at that strength of schedule, man. An A+ is going to be absolutely brutal. We are going to start going home to play against UAB, who is now coached by Papa Gump, you know, our former defensive coordinator. And then from there, it gets tougher. We'll go on the road to play against Texas at Texas. Then we'll play Mid-Tennessee State. After that, we'll return home to play a tough slew of games versus Michigan, versus Penn State, and versus Ohio State. After that, you know, play Purdue, Northwestern, playing against the number 10 Nebraska Cornhuskers, and then finish it up with a rivalry week going at home to play against the Minnesota Golden Gophers for the second installment for the Battle of Minnesota, this time being hosted by the St. Thomas Tommies. In addition, here's some of the guys I am choosing to redshirt. Greg Norman's going to get a redshirt because he's just simply not going to see the field right now, which we're totally okay with that. Halfback, we're actually going to also redshirt Steve Miller and Jonathan Jackson. I think Aiden Bemis Jr. is more than capable of handling his own. You know, he can definitely get the job done. Same thing with Jameer Mitchell. I believe in these two guys going into this season. At wide receiver, we have a lot of talent. So even if you're coming as a talented guy, you may have to sit a season. Matt Robertson could be a game breaker and can definitely return punts for us in the future. But we're going to redshirt Matt Robinson and JT Evans for now. And finally, let's take a look at this recruiting board to see what we're rocking with. You know, a lot of talented guys. Once again, a lot of 4-stars. Brian Huff is a notable 2-star, but he's a 77 overall. We're going to definitely need a new kicker for when Pat Hampton does decide to graduate. Jim James and Luke Hunter improved that wide receiver core. Kevin Abrams from the native Canada, you know, trying to get him. We're pretty close to Canada, so hopefully that gives us an edge in terms of proximity to home. Mike Hodges, Elliott Riley, Bryce Jackson, a lot of dudes that can play right away. Justin Henderson too, 73 overall, a baller. Quad Williams, Chris Lamb. We're going after guys that can help us win right away, because we want to build this program up to the very top. That's what we're here for, man. So next episode will mark the very beginning of season 9, as we'll host the UAB Blazers, who are now coached by Papa Gump, you know, a former defensive coordinator for our squad, man. I'm really super excited for this brand new football season, man. If you are as well, I encourage you to smash that like button, as well as hit subscribe if you're new. This is John J. Gaming on the mic, hoping that you all have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.